So we're talking about the Apollo Theater. You of course had your iconic moment performing at the Apollo Theater with Judy Clay, first black woman, first white male to perform on stage. Tell me about that.
Well, at the time, I was a staff songwriter at a publishing company, and then I also played 6 nights a week with my little band. This is back in New York. And then I would get up in the morning and I'd get on the train and I'd go down and I'd write songs all day with a fellow named Chip Taylor. Uh, Chip was a great songwriter, about 4 years older than me, and he also, uh, coincidentally, went to the same high school I did about 4 years earlier. And he wrote songs like Wild Thing and Angel of the Morning. And
Yeah.
he was sort of my mentor as a songwriter. So the first song we ever wrote together was called Make Me Belong to You. And it became a hit for Barbara Lewis on Atlantic Records. So that was our entree to Atlantic, which was my favorite record company. You know, Ray Charles, the Drifters, the Coasters, Bobby Darin, they were all on Atlantic, my favorite
Wow.
artists.
Absolutely.
So we said, let's write a duet, maybe for some of these Atlantic stars, and we'll take it up there and see if they go for it. So we made a demo of this song called Storybook Children, and we took it up to Jerry Wexler, who was the big cheese at Atlantic, and he pounded his fist on the desk. He says, "Man, that's a smash." He said, "But get rid of the girl. I'll record you on Atlantic
Really?
Records." I said, "Whoa." So at the time, as I said, we were playing at this one club that on the weekends where we played 2 dance sets, and then they'd bring in current hit record acts who would do 2 shows, and we would play for them because most of them didn't bring bands. They might at best bring a guitar player. Well, one of those acts was Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells, and we played a lot with them because they were not an expensive act, so we had them up there a lot. And one of the girls in the group, Nona Hendricks, had a voice I thought would blend well with mine. So I called her up in Philadelphia and I said, "Nona, you want to make a record with me? You guys are on Atlantic, and Atlantic wants to put out this song that Chip and I wrote as a duet." She said, "Sure, I'd love to sing with you." So we recorded it with Nona. And then their manager got in on the act. Mr. Montague was his name. And he said, "No, no, if Billy and Nona have a hit, it'll break up the group. And that's no good." But Patty and the girls, they said, "No, no, come on, Mr. Montague. We need a guitar player. Billy's great. And, you know, nobody can play our music. Our music is too hard for most of these club bands." So they were hoping to get me as a guitar player. And also, if Nona and I had a hit, their thinking was it would raise the price of the act. You know, Nona and I
Yeah.
could do our hit, and Patty and them could do their hits. But Mr. Montague was against it. So
Okay.
then we had to audition about 20 more girls, and one was worse than the other. They all sounded like they should be singing Broadway show tunes, you know, Stephen Sondheim songs. And finally, we were almost ready to give up. And Jerry Wexler said, "Listen, we just got this girl, Judy Clay. She's a cousin of Dionne Warwick, and take a listen to her, see what you think." So she came up to the office, and in she walked. She's about 14 months pregnant,
Oh
and
my.
she's got a chip on her shoulder the size of Wyoming, because Dionne had made it. Dionne's sister Dee Dee Warwick had made it. The aunt Cissy Houston had been doing well with the Sweet Inspirations, and Judy, who came out of the same gospel group, the Drink Art Singers, she had never been able to score a hit, and she was kind of bitter, and it
Right.
showed, you know. So she left. She sang great, and so when she left, everybody said, "Well, she sings great, but man, that attitude, do you think you can handle that?" I said, "Well, I got a sister like that, you know." I said, "I can handle that." And as it turned out, Judy and I became friends, and we remained friends until the day she died about 10 years ago. So the record comes out, Billy Vera and Judy Clay, Storybook Children. And unlike most records, which take off in the hinterlands, uh, our records took off in New York. And soon it was number one on the black stations in New York. And it was, I think it rose to number 3 on the pop stations. And so the Apollo wanted to book us sight unseen. They hadn't seen our picture yet.
Okay.
So we get up there. And in those days, the Apollo was a 7-day-a-week house. They did 5 shows a day, starting on Friday morning and then ending the following Thursday night. So you get up there Thursday night to rehearse after the last show of the previous week, and then you rehearse with the house band, which was a great band led by Reuben Phillips. And so I get up there, and the stage manager was a fellow named Honey Coles of the famous tap dance team Coles and Atkins. And he said, Harlem hasn't seen you yet, meaning me.
All right.
He said, I got an idea. He said, Judy, you enter first from stage right. Billy, you enter from stage left. And you wait 3 steps for her to make her entrance, and then you make your entrance and watch what happens. So we did that. And he put us on second. There might have been 7 or 8, 9 acts on the show. And the first opening act was always a well choreographed, visually exciting act to get the audience going. And then the second spot was usually for newer acts or acts that were not that great. And then better star. And so we were on second. So I wait for her 1, 2, 3, and then I make my entrance. 1,500 people gasp. I hear them out there going, "That's him? That skinny little white boy, that's him?" Well, we went over like gangbusters. They loved us. And this was quite something because, you see, a month earlier, Martin Luther King had gotten killed.
Okay.
There was riots across the river in Newark, New Jersey, going on over there. And they were kind of scared that maybe people wouldn't take too kindly to a little white boy stealing a black girl. But as it turned out, just the opposite. They loved us. And so after the first show, Honey Coles comes up to our dressing room. And he says, listen, I'm changing up the show. He said, I'm going to put you all on right before the star. He says, because ain't nobody going to follow you two.